Hot diggity dog, hot diggity dog. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to another episode of Morning Tea, where we don't have a saying anymore. Gotta work on that. Hey! Let's get some of the what is that you're wearing, Wah? Questions out of the way. What's on my lips is Exorcism by Kat Von D. It's the everlasting liquid lipstick. Next we have my pillows that are in the background. They and all the information about them are linked in the description box below. What shirt am I wearing? Evelyn of the Internets did like a limited t-shirt situation thing a couple years ago. So that's what this is. I don't know where you can get it now. I don't think that they are available. So my first topic on Morning Tea today is going to be Fergie and that national anthem girl. Did we all watch that? If we didn't, I will try to link it somewhere so you guys can go check it out. I didn't watch it. I went and watched it afterwards after people were making fun of her. She decided to take the national anthem and make it jazzy, and it did not work. She was like trying to channel a little Billie Holiday, and like Billie Holiday's voice works because it's stylized. It really can't sing a lot of different songs. You know what I'm saying? God bless a child that's got her own. Billie Holiday's voice is very specific to a certain time and era and a certain type of music. The national anthem not being one of them. And then she tried to hit those notes, girl. And it was kind of acapella girl, and then there was like shooting to everybody else in the audience girl, and like Chance the Rapper was like, is it on me? I mean, people were like, I think sometimes like basketball players and anybody who's ever at any of these shows, like sports events, sports shows, they have to keep a straight face when they're listening to whoever the person singing the national anthem. When they're listening to that national anthem because they don't want to get caught on tape making a face. I wish Blue Ivy was in the audience so that we can know how people is really feeling. I mean, she was feeling herself, yo. She thought she was on it. She got those veneers popping, girl. Mama was in her little jazzy, lacy dress. And when people started to like cheer at the time, you know the part everybody cheers at, she was like, like it just bold with it. And it was just a little off key. But you know, she was singing jazz, so you know, we could just go with that right now. Why don't we just go with that, okay? Let's talk about Black Panther and what I thought of the movie. So I have several different sides and emotions to come from when I'm talking about this movie. I saw the movie twice this weekend. The first time I saw it was more of an experience about actually going to see it and less about the actual movie. And then the second time I saw it, I took my parents to see it, and it was great. Like, I just got more of the MCU fan in me to be able to watch it. So let's talk about my first experience with it. So why Black Panther is important. Black Panther is important because it's opened up a discussion amongst Black people throughout the diaspora. Specifically, I think young and old, and sort of bridging a gap that has kind of a chasm that has kind of developed between the old school and the new school of thought. With the advent of Twitter and social media, there has become this disconnect, and I think that Black Panther managed to sort of, at least for a while, for a second, for a weekend, sort of meld those two things together. I would first like to say that a lot of the older generation that I talked to about the movie initially thought that it was a movie about like Angela Davis and Huey Newton. I guess I would have thought the same thing too had I not had any context dealing with the MCU community. My first experience, a coworker of mine had an event with him and his friend. They set up this event to happen Friday night, opening night of Black Panther. They bought out 2 rows of the El Capitan Theater on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California. We bought tickets, and the tickets included a dinner and discussion beforehand, an African drum procession to the theater, and then our movie tickets with snacks and stuff as well. So it was a really cool experience. I took my friend Chris with me. We sat down for the discussion. They were having a talk about Blackness in the diaspora and bringing together all forms of Blackness in sort of a cohesive, or at least an understanding sort of tone, where we don't speak about other Black people as though we don't acknowledge their struggle as being Black people in this sort of white supremacist world. We then, after had that discussion, we met on the corner of Hollywood and Highland, and we walked down the street to a procession of African drums, all of us dressed in our glory and our African attire, or anything that we felt represented us as Black people, and walked to the theater and had a little dance off in front of the theater, and then went in and watched the movie. I couldn't enjoy the movie the first time because I was so caught up in how beautiful it was, and I wasn't really paying attention to how the movie fit into the MCU. I was more so paying attention to the Blackness, the richness, the the way that Ryan Coogler and the cast decided to give us this interpretation, this rendition of the Black Panther, and I have to say that I thought it was ethereal and it was wonderful. There was a dude sitting behind me who looked like a cross between Morpheus and Blade, who was getting on my last nerves. That's the one thing about going to see an all-black movie on opening night. Yo, he was talking the whole entire movie, son. The whole entire movie. Like, dictating, telling Shuri what she should and should not do. He didn't even like Shuri, and I was like, nah, I can't be with this brother. This brother behind me is on some other stuff where he gonna be mad at Shuri. How you gonna be mad at Shuri, son? How you gonna be mad at Shuri? I'm gonna need you out of my ear. He was in my ear the whole entire movie, and it was very annoying. But the blackness, the womanness, the black womanness of this movie is what really compelled and took over for me. I mean, Lupita and Denai were just such powerhouses, such forces that it made me go, did a man actually write this? The roles of the women were a little bit differently, but he did write these women in. He did write Denai's character, the general. He did write her as a general of an elite force, yes, initially built to service the king as potential wives, but like whatever. And the same thing with Lupita Nyong'o's character. Like, they were there in a self-serving to the Black Panther sort of image, but the way Ryan Coogler in this class took it and changed it, the way the writers of this took it and changed it, made me so happy and proud. My first experience with them was just woman power. We were all yelling whenever there was some fabulousness happening on the screen. Basically, whenever Lupita and Denai and Chadwick walked together anywhere on the screen, people were like, woo, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was nice to feel that energy. It was nice to have the positivity in the room. It was nice to have, you know, whenever somebody would say something powerful or strong, to have the audience collectively go, yeah, girl, you better tell it. That's exactly what I needed for the first time watching this movie. This is so important when it comes to Black Panther as a movie and Black Panther as a movement. Black Panther as a movie makes sense and needed to happen because it was nice to be able to see almost all Black cast do a movie on such a grand and large scale. The 80s and the 90s produced some of the best all-Black cinema I've ever seen in my entire life. And I don't know that I feel like any movies recently have done that. But the fact that you got to see Black people in not a comedic or a dramatic role, but in an action role, a role where they're kicking butt and they're serving face and they're giving you royalty and they're giving you positivity and love. And even though for the majority of it, it feels like it's Black on Black fighting, but at least now we're in a place where we can have an all-Black movie with Black on Black fighting, and we can be the villain and the hero. And there's no tropes. It was beautiful. It was great. Black Panther as a movement is important because it's important for our young peoples to see images of themselves, images of people who have hair like them, images of people who wear their clothing like them, images of people who look like them on the screen doing positive, good and bad things. Representation of a duality, of a way that we as Black people are allowed to be, and not in the normal sense that we see each other on, how we see each other on television. This movie was well received, well loved, and I thought it was absolutely fabulous. The second time I saw the movie was last night, and I was very excited to take my parents out to see it. They were going to see it, but I knew they would take forever to see it and like hemming and hawing and deciding when to go. And I was like, no, you guys need to see it this weekend. You guys need to understand what's happening when you look at your news feeds. You need to be able to have the discussion with whomever you're going to have the discussion with this week, all the people you talk to. You need to let them know that you saw Black Panther opening weekend and that you loved it. And that this is something that's different. It's not their type of movie. Definitely my parents would not be seeing this comic book movie at all. But I think to stay with it and stay with the zeitgeist, they needed to watch this movie. And I grew up in a pro-Black household. So for these two pro-Black people to not go see that movie would have been absolutely weird. So it took them to see the movie. My dad got dressed up. My mom put on a head wrap and we went to see this movie. They were very, very excited. She like thought it was a cartoon because of the CGI. I mean, that's how long my mom has been since she's actually seen a movie. And it was just so great for me to be watching this movie and kind of look at my eye and see my dad just smiling up at the TV and laughing at all the right points and absolutely getting what's going on, and my mom to do the same. It was just really important for me to carry on the tradition and take them with me to see this new wave, this new idea of Black people still with concrete roots into what's happening now in the community and then in the diaspora. I think some of my dad's biggest laughs came from Suri. And as somebody who his father has always supported her and what she wanted to do, it was really important for me to see him love Suri and not think, oh, she shouldn't be doing that because she's a woman. And it was fantastic. It was fantastic. I love the way that this movie talked about sexism. When you had M'Baka, the character who felt some sort of way about a young teenage girl being the most technologically advanced person in Wakanda. And just the struggles between the non-American, I mean, just the struggle between the American Black people and the struggle that's happening outside of Wakanda and the struggle that's happening on the continent outside of Wakanda, and Wakanda's duty to help their fellow Africans out and helping so that their societies are better. And the discussion of colonization, the discussion of leaving your fellow man behind, and isolation, and not sharing your culture, and not sharing your ideals, and not sharing your values and your wealth with the rest of the people who look like you. This movie was done beautifully. I have to say that as an MCU person, I want to say it isn't the best Marvel comic movie I've ever seen in my life. It didn't have a lot of the humor that I'm used to it happening. Sometimes the humor got lost in the accent, and I'm somebody who can understand the accent, but sometimes I was like, what did he just say? What did she just say? And it was just so nice to be able to see a vulnerable character like T'Challa. It was nice to see an extreme character like Eric Killmonger. And it was nice to see another character like M'Baka. I mean, it just was nice to see Black people in so many different roles that we don't normally get to play. And to see the women character in so many roles that we don't get to play. And it was just, I mean, I loved it. It is everything that Black people throughout the diaspora are, create, build upon, move forward with. It was wonderful. So you might be feeling some type of way. Maybe you don't have African attire. Maybe you think it's silly for people to dress up to go see this movie. Most of the people in the movie were either British or American. And if you're going to play African people, the beauty of it was when they brought up the sounds. Like just so much of the little nuances of the language, of the sounds Black people make, of the movements, of how they maneuver through life, and how strong we are and how resilient we are, and the costumes, the attention to detail when it comes to the different tribes in Wakanda. I love how they explained how in a country there are different tribes. I mean, here in America, we don't understand that. So when we hear of Nigeria, we think they're all Nigerian and it doesn't matter. But within Nigeria, there are tribes of people who have different cultures, different dialects, different, differences between each of the cultures and the dialects and the tribes. The same thing in Wakanda, and how they were able to come together, the 5 tribes, and have this peaceful coexistence, and how they were able to keep their traditions that each of the tribes had, yet they all were Wakandan under the same flag. And I absolutely loved that commentary on that. The representation for a lot of different African cultures that were happening in this movie were wonderful. I'm filled with so much inspiration. I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to do like a spoiler-free review, but you guys take your children to see this. If you want to dress up, it makes the experience a little bit more fun when you see other people that are dressed up and you can be like, ay. This movie was great. Go see it for the social aspect of it. Go see it for the MCU aspect of it. And go see it just to be a part of what's going on in the world right now. And to know that we needed this. And that Ryan Coogler gave it to us. Okay, guys. That's it for this episode of Morning Tea. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment down below. It's a great experience when you get to see it with a lot of other Black people. Especially only if they're not talking bit by bit about the colonizers, because it just gets on my nerves. All right. That's it for this episode. You guys have a fantastic day. Remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye.